Hey toy fans, I'm D21Beast and welcome back to my figure review series here on my YouTube channel. And today we're once again looking at those Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutations figures released by Playmates in 2014. And of course we have here in front of us Mikey, or Michelangelo, the nunchuck-wielding Ninja Turtle brother. Now, if you guys haven't seen my previous review of Mutations Metalhead, definitely check the link to that review below this video. But basically, Mutations figures are Playmates' attempt to sort of ape Hasbro's Marvel Superhero Masters line. And you see we have a Superhero Master Spider-Man over here to the right. And if you're not familiar with these Superhero Master figures and what they're about, you basically get a figure, and you can separate out his joints, you can pull them apart at the hip or the legs or whatever you want, and mix and match them with another character in the same toy line and have your own homemade supervillain or superhero. And of course, Hasbro's even done these for the Transformers line as well. So here we have Playmates' attempt to kind of get in on the mix and mash or mix and create superhero line, and we have our Mutations Ninja Turtle figures. Let's go ahead and get things started, guys, by taking a look at the packaging on this guy. As you come down the front of the box, you do have the logo for Nickelodeon and the current version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated series. There is a show-rendered mutated Leonardo figure there towards the right, and then you have a blister bubble packaging that does house the Mutations Michelangelo figure, as well as his accessories and his extra limbs. And then towards the bottom, you do see the label for the figure's name, and an image there of Michelangelo mutated together with Slash and Tiger Claw. Flipping this package around, as you come down the back of the box, you have the logo for Nickelodeon and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, as well as the Mutations series of figures. You've got some general information for what this line is all about, as well as a preview of Michelangelo mutated together with some Slash and Tiger Claw and Shredder pieces. And then towards the bottom of the packaging, you do have a complete lineup of all the figures that are currently available in this first wave. Alright guys, well that's the packaging. Let's say we get Mutations Mikey out of the box and see what this guy is all about. Alright toy fans, here we have Michelangelo out of the box, and this is really a pretty cool little figure here. And again, like I said in the Metalhead video, I really appreciate that Playmates is giving us these figures that are still, for the most part, in scale with the regular Ninja Turtle toy line that already exists. So if you don't have a Michelangelo and this is the only one that you can find that's not some sort of crazy vacuumed costume version, go ahead and pick up this figure because he's going to look great sitting next to the rest of your turtles. But there is one thing that you're going to notice that's a bit off about this Michelangelo figure. As we pull in the Ninja Turtles here, you're going to see we have Donatello, we've got Leonardo coming in, we've got Raphael here. Typically, these turtle figures have been done in the appropriate height and scale that the turtles appear on the show, with Donatello being the tallest and Michelangelo being the smallest. But for these mutation figures, all the turtles appear to be roughly the same size. Let me go ahead and pull in the Battleshell Michelangelo figure, and you'll see kind of the difference I'm talking about here. As you take a look at Battleshell Michelangelo, he is the shortest figure in the line. But I think to facilitate the interchangeable arms and limbs and that nobody ends up with a stubby leg or a stubby arm, they've gone ahead and made sure that all the turtles are essentially the same size for this toy line. I can understand why they've chosen to go that route. But it is just going to be a little off, I guess, if you like having Mikey being your shortest turtle figure. But overall, he blends in very nicely with the other figures that are already out. And then as we take a look at this Michelangelo figure, something else interesting that I noticed is that head sculpt looked familiar to me. And it's actually because that's the exact same head sculpt that they used for the Elf Mikey figure. Now, this Elf Mikey figure doesn't have the ball-jointed head that this Michelangelo has, but they've used the same head sculpt from about the chin up. And what's kind of fun about this one is if you have the Elf Mikey figure, you can actually pull off your elf mask, or elf ears, and stick them right onto your Mutations Mikey figure. It fits perfectly. So I thought that was kind of a fun coincidence, or just a fun byproduct of reusing parts. But as we take a look at the sculpting on this Michelangelo figure, you're going to notice this appears to be a completely new torso mold with different wear marks on the shell. You're going to see that the arms and legs, interestingly, actually harken back to the original release of the Ninja Turtle figures for this 2012 cartoon show. And by that I mean it's the more bumpy, sort of reptile-y texture, not the more geometric texture that we see with something like the Battleshell Turtles, where it's just more hard lines around the musculature and no actual texturing. These were more show accurate. The original Series 1 Turtles weren't. So they seem to be going with a hybrid here of CG show and then the pre-release Series 1 Turtles. So that's kind of an interesting combination. And you see you have some more detail here on the shell on the back. Mutations Michelangelo comes with all the accessories that you see here. The first ones we're going to talk about are, of course, his nunchucks. Now, these nunchucks are actually identical to the nunchuck sculpts that we got with the Battleshell Michelangelo figure. You see as I pull in this set here, bear with me, guys. So I pull in this set here, we can see that they are the same sort of nunchuck design, just colored in different plastic. And like the Battleshell nunchucks, these nunchucks are molded out of a plastic that's really not meant to be bent or worn around a lot. This nunchuck set looks pretty decent, but when we pull up this other one here, out of the packaging, there was already wear marks on my nunchuck, so I was a bit disappointed by that. I mean, you got to be careful with these things if you're playing around with them, because they could potentially break on you after some use. And these nunchucks themselves do fit nicely into Michelangelo's hands. Now, unfortunately, Michelangelo, this version of him, the Mutations figure, actually has smaller nunchuck holsters on the back of his shell than the battle shell Michelangelo did. So these nunchucks are actually really hard to squeeze into the loops for the figure. I mean, I can really press them in there if I want to, but I'm actually going to be wearing the chain a lot more than I'd like to be and potentially damaging the weapons for this figure. So with the Mutations Michelangelo figure, you may choose to go ahead and store his weapons just one nunchuck in the holster, or just not put him in there at all. So it's a bit disappointing that they didn't sort of increase, even though Michelangelo is bigger himself, that they didn't increase the loops for the nunchuck accessories. And then Michelangelo also comes with this leg for Metalhead. And Michelangelo, much like the Metalhead figure we looked at recently, is able to come apart at ball joints very, very easily. And you can just pull off this leg here and plug on the Metalhead leg, and you're starting to mutate your Michelangelo figure. The mutation piece that this Michelangelo figure comes with, the Metalhead leg, brings me to probably my biggest complaint with this toy line. There are 9 figures in this wave. If you get a Ninja Turtle figure, Leonardo, Michelangelo, Raphael, Donatello, you're going to get either a leg or an arm of Metalhead, who's already a figure in this first wave of toys. If you get a non-turtle figure, Splinter, Metalhead, Shredder, Tiger Claw, you're going to get a leg or arm for Donatello. So Donatello's also already a figure in this wave. Basically, if you get this entire wave of figures, you're going to end up with a bunch of Metalhead or Donatello pieces that you don't even need because you already have the main figures. What I would have liked to see from this toy line is if collecting all 9 figures got you a different leg, arm, head, torso for a figure who's not already part of the existing line. Like say for instance, you buy every figure in the wave, and now you've got all the pieces you need to interchange with say a Casey Jones figure who you can't already buy individually. I really hope that with Series 2 of this Turtle toy line, they go ahead and try to change things up a bit, because I don't think we want to be left with a bunch of extra pieces we don't even need once we've collected all the figures. Articulation for Mutations Michelangelo is actually pretty basic. He's only got 5 points and they're all ball joints. You've got a head here that'll rock all the way around. You've got a shoulder that'll rock all the way around and spin around. You've got a hip joint that'll also rock all the way around. And that basically completes it. You've got the same thing on the other side. I mean, it is kind of basic with the 5 points, but because they're ball joints, you're still able to get more or less dynamic poses with the figure. So, while limiting, there's still a lot you can actually do with it. Height-wise, you can see that this Michelangelo figure does come in at right about 4.5 inches tall. For some size comparison, here we once again have Mutations Michelangelo compared to the Battleshell Donatello figure, Battleshell Leonardo figure, the Battleshell Raphael, and the Battleshell Michelangelo. And let's throw in Elf Mikey for good measure. It's actually kind of funny to see that Michelangelo seems to be getting taller with each figure release. He's actually growing before our eyes. And finally, here he is compared to the 6-inch scale Marvel Legends Infinite Series Wolverine. Alright toy fans, well that's my review of the Nickelodeon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutations Mikey figure released by Playmates in 2014. Overall, this is a really fun toy line, and I'm very happy that Playmates has chosen to keep these particular line of figures in scale with the existing Ninja Turtle toys that are already out there. And these figures are actually easier to change up than something like a Marvel Masters figure, so if you have smaller children, they're actually probably going to have an easier time with this line than they will with the Masters figure, so you may want to keep that in mind. But I do feel like the major failing of this toy line is the fact that if you get all of them, you have a bunch of extra pieces that you really don't need, and I hope they change that with Series 2. But these are a lot of fun, guys, and if you can't track down a standard Michelangelo figure, you'd actually be fine just picking up this guy. Well, thanks for watching this review, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like what you saw here, please feel free to rate, share, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Booyakasha!